up, everyone, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at the Detroit Lions secondary for the 2020 NFL season. So let's get it started. Welcome in, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. Before we get this thing started, I gotta let you guys know that there is a couple of new things on the shop, right? A little bit more merchandise that you guys can now choose from on the shop. The link is in the description, the Dot Shop. You guys can also go look it up on Google, the Dot Shop, D-O-D Shop, no spaces. It just sounds good, so I keep it at the Dot Shop. But we have a couple of new things up there. The first thing is that we have face masks. You know, everybody's got to wear face masks, so why not do it in style? Why not look fresh when you're wearing a dang face mask? So we got a really cool line going across it, man. It says Dos Dion, like really small. It looks sick, man. If you guys want to check it out, again, go to the shop, check it out. It's $9.99 right now. $9.99. And then also, we have a new shirt over there that says Okuda Island. That has been something that's been highly requested for a while now, and it's finally up. Okuda Island shirts are now available. Now, we don't have a number for them, so we don't have that on there, but I think they're pretty fire. It says Okuda Island, has a picture of an island, and then it has the logo, man. And you can pick tons of different colors, right? You can get an orange, yellow, grape. Well, grape's not a color, but I don't know what color you like, right? Do you like black? I don't know. Black may be hard to see. No, the letters are white, so black's good. White, I probably wouldn't go white. I'm just saying that. Probably don't pick white. But aside from white, you can get some fire shirt, man. You can get a really fire shirt. I think orange looks really good. But if you want blue, I mean, that looks good because the letters are white, so it really pops. So check that out. Again, link in the description or look it up on Google Shop. Now let's get the video started. So we're talking about the Detroit Lions secondary. Now I'm going to try to break this down player by player because I've done this a couple of times and I feel like it gets kind of confusing because I start to get a ramble. And once I start rambling, I feel like audience is like, okay, I have no idea what he's talking about at this point, right? And then you just kind of get lost. So I'm going to try to go player by player, but also explain how we got to where we are, all right? So let's start back and trail back a little bit to the 2019 NFL season where the Detroit Lions defense ranked as one of the worst in the league, as they were. The Detroit Lions defense last season was not very good, but it's more than just the numbers. You got to look a little bit deeper at that to see why the defense wasn't good. And at times, if there were any outliers where, hey, they actually were good at this point, there were times last season, secondary specifically, where secondary did play well. And we saw that it could work and we saw that it could play well together. However, it kind of came crashing down, and for the rest of the season, it looked really bad. The Lions gave up the most pass yards of any team in the NFL last season, and a big reason, and because of that, many people look at the Lions secondary as not a very good secondary heading into 2020 season. There's a lot of potential, so let's get this thing started, all right? Before we get into the reasons why the Detroit Lions secondary was not very good, let's talk about a time when it was good, because in 2019, it wasn't all bad. Actually, through the first 5 weeks of the season, the Detroit Lions secondary was one of the best in the league, okay? They had all of their secondary players playing at an extremely high level. Quandre Diggs was doing well, as usual. You had a guy like Justin Coleman, who you just brought in, that was literally playing at the best level he's ever played in the NFL. Sure, he gave up 3 passing touchdowns, but he was forcing tons of fumbles, tons of passes defended. The Detroit Lions had 7 forced fumbles as a team. Detroit Lions secondary was really, really good early in the season. Really, through the first 5 games, the Detroit Lions secondary was playing at a very high level. They held Patrick Mahomes to 0 passing touchdowns. No other team did that in the NFL. The entire season, no team did that. At the time, it was Patrick Mahomes' lowest passer rating. It was Aaron Rodgers' second lowest passer rating at the time. The Detroit Lions secondary through the first 5 weeks was looking good. They were looking good, right? They played well against Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Those are good quarterbacks. But all of a sudden, week 6 comes around. And week 6, the Detroit Lions defense doesn't play well. And the Lions give up 42 points as a defense. They gave up 42 points defensively to the Minnesota Vikings and ended up losing that game 42-30. One of, if not their only double-digit loss of the season. So that game clearly didn't go well. And I think that's what started the whole downward spiral. Because, yes, it was just a bad game. It was a bad game by the secondary. But that led to more things. After that game, the Detroit Lions traded away Quandre Diggs. So the Detroit Lions traded away Quandre Diggs. I feel like there was some kind of falling out in the locker room because Quandre Diggs has talked about it many times. He's talked about Matt Patricia saying that they were trying to control the voices. So I feel like there was a problem in the locker room between Diggs and the coaching staff or whatever it may be, either before or after that game. And that game kind of set it off. So they traded away Quandre Diggs. They got him out of here. All of a sudden, Darius Slay's unhappy. And we learned this at the end of the year when we traded away Darius Slay, because we knew Darius Slay didn't play at his highest level, but he was still playing pretty well. Like, he was still playing as a good corner, and we're looking at this saying, oh my gosh, you just brought in Desmond Trufant. If you pair these two guys together, first off, we don't have to get a corner in the first round, and you know what? That's a pretty sick duo that we really haven't had. However, we did trade away Darius Slay, and for a second, we were shocked, but I would say the very next second, we weren't, because Darius Slay is coming out talking about all the problems that he had with Matt Patricia, how toxic that entire relationship was. And because of that, we traded away Darius Slay. So I think there was a complete downward spiral after that week 6 when Quandre Diggs was traded away. There was a split in the locker room. There was a divide. Some players wanted to be here. Some players didn't. The players that didn't are gone now. So you know what players those are. But some players did want to be here. Some players tried to buy in. And then all of a sudden, couple weeks later, Matthew Stafford goes down. He's injured. He's out for the year. Now your confidence is at an all-time low. You just got smacked by the Vikings. You got one of your leaders in Quandre Diggs traded away. I believe he was a team captain. He's traded away, and Matthew Stafford's out for the season. How could it get any worse? Well, here's how. The defensive line plays at the worst level it's ever played at. Snacks Harrison played awful. He did not live up to any of the expectations coming into the year. Snacks Harrison was at times like just so upset, like, oh, I got to be better. You know, this is my fault. He was the anchor of the defense, and he was awful. I mean, he was awful last season. All of a sudden, he is no longer with the Detroit Lions. He's still a free agent. It was a mess even after he was gone. He was saying a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but he's gone now. Deshaun Hand plays in 3 games the entire season, so there's your other DT. He's out. Romeo Cora goes from 7.5 sacks to 1.5 sacks because he's got no one else to help him. And the only guy that's doing work is Trey Flowers, who gets 7.5 sacks, and people want to say he's overpaid, so just stop it because he's not. But seriously, man, I mean, there was so many problems on that defensive line, and then Matthew Stafford gets hurt. I mean, it was literally... what can go wrong went wrong. What could go wrong went wrong for the Detroit Lions, and the secondary really fell down flat on their face because of that. So this offseason, the Detroit Lions regrouped, they revamped, and I know a lot of people don't believe in this secondary group because of last season, but you need to understand it's a completely different situation. Not only do you have new players, but you got the players out of the room that didn't want to be here, and now you got players that are bought into the system. So let's start off with the second safety position because it flows well together to do them together. Let's start with the safety position. Let's take a look at what it looks like for the 2020 NFL season. First off, you have Tracy Walker III. He is going to be returning. We actually just got a video of him on Instagram working out, but he will be returning as the Detroit Lions starting safety. Last season, he took over a huge role after Quandre Diggs was traded, and he played pretty darn well. He didn't even play in all 16 games, and he had over 100 tackles. He did pretty darn well in coverage. He was asked to do a lot of tough things like cover Larry Fitzgerald man-to-man. That's not an easy responsibility. Fitz may be old, but he's still a monster. One of the best wide receivers ever in the NFL. So Tracy Walker will be returning, and hopefully he gets even better as he comes back with the Detroit Lions. But who will help him? Duron Harmon is a new addition by the Detroit Lions this offseason, a trade that the Lions made with the New England Patriots to bring in the veteran safety. Now, the Lions this offseason lost Tavon Wilson, who was one of those vets before they had Glover Quinn. They really didn't have a vet last season other than Tavon Wilson. He is now gone. So you bring in Duron Harmon via trade for $4.5 million cap hit for 1 year. He's that veteran. He's the closer. He's the guy that has 17 career interceptions. He's proven. He fits in the scheme. He wants to be here. He wants to play for Patricia. He will help Tracy Walker. He will play as our free safety or deep safety in the back end. Then you have Will Harris also returning, another mid-round pick that Detroit Lions have made, Bob Quinn has made. Will Harris had stepped into a bigger role as well when Quandre Diggs was gone. And while I don't think he's playing at the level as Tracy Walker, you could definitely see him slowly improve towards the end of the season. You have Jaron Kearse, who you brought in this offseason from the Minnesota Vikings on a short-term cheap deal, who has the potential. We know what's there. He's kind of like different than any other guy we've had in the safety position last year, right? He's 6'4", 205 pounds, an athletic freak that can really help on 3 safety sets that the Lions love to utilize. So you bring in your new safety. You also have 3 undrafted free agents that will be competing for that spot: Jeremiah Dinson, Jalen Elliott, and Bobby Price. So you got 3 new UDFA safeties. So that's what your safety position group looks like. And it's a little bit similar, right? You have Tracy Walker, Will Harris returning, but you bring in a veteran. You bring in a veteran, and you bring in a guy with Jaron Kearse that has a completely different style. Now, obviously, other guys will be competing for a role to see if they can make it onto the team. Now, let's hop over to the cornerback position. So the first cornerback we have is Jeffrey Okudah, the Detroit Lions' 3rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. The first pick the Detroit Lions made in the 2020 NFL Draft, the cornerback out of Ohio State, who was going to have a lot of expectations on him, as he should, being the 3rd pick in the draft. He's basically the replacement for Darius Slay. Lions traded away Darius Slay. It was a completely toxic relationship. You bring in Jeffrey Okudah. Who else did you bring in? Well, before you traded away Darius Slay, you brought in Desmond Trufant. And Desmond Trufant's kind of the replacement for Rashawn Melvin, another vet you lost. Now, Rashawn Melvin, I will praise him all day for his ability to tackle and his hard work, man. I felt like he really played hard. He played his butt off, and I appreciate the heck out of him for that. He just wasn't great in coverage. And because of that, it was a big problem. Desmond Trufant, a proven corner who may not be the same as he used to be, did have 4 interceptions and 9 games, and is used to taking on the top wide receiver against opposing teams. So Okudah and Trufant will now be working together. Should definitely help Okudah, get comfortable in the league faster. You also have Justin Coleman returning, who I said was balling out early in the season 2019. Hopefully he can get back to that level with some help around him. You have Amani Oruwariye, who took over another role, also was a starter at one point for the Lions, and he played really well. Definitely exceeded expectations when he got the opportunity last season, the corner out of Penn State. A couple of interceptions. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy could be a starter. We were literally talking about, could this guy be a starter for the Lions in 2020? That's how well he was playing. And then you bring in Darryl Roberts, a veteran who in 2018 started for the Jets. So if you look at it, one thing that pops out to me, probably the biggest thing that pops out to me is this. Across the cornerback group and the safety group, you have a great foundation built. You have a young foundation that is locked up for a while. You have Tracy Walker and Will Harris, who are built to be your safeties for the future. You have Jeffrey Okudah, you have Amani Oruwariye, and Justin Coleman, who are built for the future. And then you sprinkle in a couple of veterans, right? You sprinkle in Desmond Trufant, you sprinkle in Darryl Roberts, Duron Harmon, right? A couple of these veterans who can help you out, possibly Jaron Kearse for the future as well. But you have a very good foundation built, and this is why we want the Lions to be successful, because that will mean Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn can save their jobs. They can return and continue to build on what they have right here. While it may not be the most polished in 2020, it is good on paper. It looks good on paper, and we're hoping those veterans can help these guys, sink in and get chemistry with the team faster. But what's great about this is that the Lions play the most man-to-man out of any team in the NFL. And because of that, I feel like they should be able to translate to the NFL pretty quickly. You have one job, man, it's to cover your man, right? You don't have to worry about zone responsibilities and trust other players. You're playing man-to-man, you cover your man, you play a role, you do that at a high level, and everybody does, and all of a sudden you're playing some really good defense, and you're looking really good in the secondary. But they do need help. Lions run a lot of different sets. They'll run some different blitzes. Well, not really blitzes, but they'll bring 4 guys in a lot of different stunts, certain ways. So they're going to do their job to get pressure, because we've seen it work in 2018. However, it needs to be a major improvement from 2019. And I think, with an anchor in there like Danny Shelton now coming off his best season to help out, you brought in your Nick Williams. We'll get to those positions a little bit later, but I think it will be better. And those guys need to help open up the cornerbacks. Now, there is a thought that Lions could blitz more next season because they have more confidence in their cornerbacks, which could be the case. So far, we haven't seen it, but it could be the case in 2020. We're not exactly sure, but we do know that the secondary has a lot of potential. It's built for the future, and it could be really good if they can come together, right? We have a lot of unknowns with Jeffrey Okudah, with Desmond Trufant, new guys. I mean, you kind of know because he's a veteran, but you have one major unknown with Jeffrey Okudah, right? That's the major question mark. But aside from that, man, these guys are good players, and I think the secondary will be much improved from 2019. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. How will the Lions secondary do? I don't see tons of interceptions, but I think we could see a few more. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.